so I don't bump it. All right. So 16 inches, 12 inches. You got corners that you're going to cut off, and then you're going to turn it up, and then you're going to figure out what will maximize the volume. So if this is x and x and x and x and x and x and x, what's the new length if we take off x off each side? And what's the new height or width? So the volume of this equals the base, or the length, times the width, times the height. Okay? So we're going to have to multiply this out, won't we? So let's multiply it out. So 16 times 12, that's a big number. Like 288? No. There's a 2. 188. No. 192. There you go. 192. Outers is negative 32. Inners is negative 24. 32 and 24. Is 56 plus 4x squared. Take that all times x, and it's 192x minus 56x squared plus 4x cubed. That's the volume function. Then, to find the value that maximizes the volume, you take the first derivative of the volume, what can factor out of 192, 112, and 12? What can factor out of 192, 112, and 12? 4 does. How many times? Well, 4 goes into 192 48 times, I think. 4 goes into 112 28 what? 28 times. And then 4 goes into 12 3 times. So it equals 0. Do the quadratic formula. Negative b plus or minus the square root of 28 squared. What's 28 squared? Big number.
784.
Minus 4 times 3 times 48. All over 2 times 3.
Negative 576.
Ooh, is this a negative number?
No, just wait. Let me do it. It's 208.
So it's 784 minus 576, right? So it's 28 plus or minus the square root of 208 over 6. And 28 plus or minus 4 goes into there. So it's 2 square root of 4 goes in there 52 times. Ooh, 16 goes in there. How many times does 16 go in there? 13. So it's 4 square root of 13 over 6. Let's just figure out a decimal here. Sometimes it's easier to just go 28. Let's just, because adding never works for these, does it?
No.
So it's 28 minus the square root of 208. Figure out what that is, and then divide that by 6. 28 minus 3.26. So we're going to cut 2.26, okay. So we're going to cut off 2.26 off of each corner. So this is the value of x that maximizes the volume. This is the volume function. And so what is the volume of it? Well, you got to stick 2.26 into that function to figure out the volume. So take 2.26 times 192 minus 56 times 2.26 squared plus 4 times 2.26 cubed. Okay, so if we started with inches, that would be inches cubed. This should be labeled as inches. So we're going to cut 2.26 inches off, because you basically 2.26 inches times 2 sides is 4.5 inches. 4.5 inches. So this would be 11.5 inches, basically. 12 minus 4.5 is 7.5 inches. 11.5 by 7.5 by 2.25. Okay. But, all right. So then let's say we got a box. That's an ugly box, but there's a box. Okay. It's x by x, and the height is h. And we know it has a volume equaling to 180 centimeters cubed. This is question 10. Yeah. The volume is 180 centimeters cubed. Okay. What are the dimensions of the box? Okay. Well, we know the volume equals x squared h, x times h. So 180 equals x squared h. So the height is equal to 180 over x squared if we divide both sides by x squared. So that's the height function. Okay, so let's find the surface area. How would we find the surface area? Well, the surface area, there's xh, each side is xh, so there's 4 sides, so there's 4xh plus the bottom, which is x squared, right? But h is up there, so it's 4x times 180 over x squared plus x squared. Or,
Why did we do this?
in the same section that we did this. You might have been gone for track. 4 times 180 is 720, right? Over x equals, or plus x squared.
Would there be an x still with the 180?
One of these x's on the bottom cancels with the one on top. Okay? So that's our surface area. Now, we want to maximize our surface area. Okay? How do we maximize our surface area? Well, we take the first derivative of it. 720 over x is really 720x to the negative first power. So if it's 720x to the negative first, that gives us negative 720x to the negative second plus 2x. We set that equal to 0. Now we're going to solve it. So negative 720 over x squared equals a negative 2x if we move the 2x to the other side. Multiply both sides by x squared, Negative 720 equals negative 2x cubed. Divide by negative 2. X cubed equals 360. Right? Take the cube root. What's the cube root of 360? It's like 7 point something, right?
7.11.
Sounds good to me. So x equals 7.11. How would I figure out what h is?
Put 7.11 into the 1/8, the volume one.
Put it into this one, the height function one. So what is h? What's 180 divided by 7.11 squared?
3.56.
So the dimensions are 3.56 by 7.11 by 7.11. And all of them are centimeters. Okay? Or if I ask you just for x and h, then you just go this far and circle owls. Okay? A ball is thrown upward from a point. What?
How many questions are there?
This is the last one. A ball is thrown upward from a point 50 meters above the ground at a rate of 20 meters per second. Now, these numbers won't always come out to be very nice. Most of our numbers on most of our problems are nice. This one's not going to be so nice. All right, so what's the average velocity from time equals 0 to time equals 2? Well, before I can do that, I got to start out with my height function. What is my height function? Well, the height of the ball at any time is its starting height plus its velocity minus the force of gravity pulling it downward. So h of t equals 50 plus 20t minus 4.9t squared.
Is it going to be meters or could it also be feet? Because feet is 9.8, right?
No, feet is 16
I did 4.9. That's really nice.
because you have to go half of acceleration. And then when we take the derivative, then it works out to be 9.8 for acceleration. Okay, so what's h of 0 equal to?
50.
What's h of 2 equal to? So 50 plus 40 is 90 minus 4.9 times 4. 4.9 times 4 is 19.6. So it's 90 minus 19.6, which is 70.4. Am I right?
I got 0.9.
What?
Oh wait, never mind. You're right.
Okay. Most of the time I trust people, but that one it doesn't sound right. So, maybe I should take that. So, average velocity equals 70.4 minus 50 over 2 minus 0, which is 20.4 over 2, which is 10.2. B. What is the instantaneous velocity at time equals 2? How do I find instantaneous velocity? First derivative of the height, which equals 20 minus 9.8 t. You stick in 2 for that, so it's 20 minus 19.6, which equals 0.4 meters per second. This would be meters per second.
Wait,
20 minus 9.8 t is the first derivative.
I'm about to fail this so bad.
Okay? What is the acceleration at time equals 2? What is the acceleration function? First derivative of velocity. What's first derivative of velocity? Meters per second squared. Does it matter if time is 2 or 4 or 12 or anything there? No, time doesn't matter. There's no variable in there. We're out of variables, so that's acceleration. D. What is the maximum height of the ball? How do you find the maximum height? Find when the velocity is equal to 0. So, because at some point, the ball goes up, stops for an instant, and comes down. So, 20 minus 9.8 t equals 0. So 20 equals 9.8 t. Divide by 9.8, and I bet it's something like 2.1. 2.04 seconds. Oop. So then you take the 2.04 seconds and stick it into the height function. It's h of 2.04. So the height function was 50 plus 20 times 2.04 minus 4.9 times 2.04 squared. I ain't doing that in my head.
I got 70.4.
I'll trust you. 70.4 meters. The next one will say, when does it reach the max height? Well, that's just this answer. So 2.04 seconds. I just had them in the wrong order on the test, but yeah. And then, how long was the ball in the air? How long was the ball in the air? How do we figure out that? Set the height function equal to 0. So I'm going to change the order. I'm going to go negative 4.9 t squared plus 20t plus 50 equals 0. I know that this isn't going to factor. There's just no way. So you go negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And you just do the math. So what do we get? Anybody? Anybody?
I got 5.83 seconds.
How fast was the ball going
Oh my God.
when it hit the ground? How do we figure that out? Put 5.83 into the velocity, because that's when it hit the ground. So the velocity at 5.83 seconds. What was the velocity function? Well, it's 20 minus 9.8 t. And so this is a really negative number. 20, what?
Negative 37.1.
Yeah, 37.1 meters per second. Okay? That's what's on your test, people.
I'm banned.